Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Ankur Rawat. I'm the Director for Products and Solutions with Newgen Software. And today we're going to talk about the webinar, which is making a business case for online account opening. This is a 30 minutes webinar. And if you have any questions during the webinar, we have a questions panel wherein you can enter your questions, and I'll be happy to respond to those questions towards the end of this webinar. Now, first of all, let's go through the targeted audience for this webinar. And while we do understand the need for a digital account opening, customer onboarding solutions, which should be there within any institution, we have seen that typically these institutions do want to hear more about the business case and how to make a great business case for account opening. So we have seen that in my discussions with these small community banks who have limitations on the budget with respect to the technology, they have a hard time justifying the investments into digital account opening. We've also seen that the banks who do not have a very high number of accounts which are opened on a monthly basis, they are unable to visualize the returns on investment with this kind of technology. And then credit unions, especially the small scale credit unions under $1 billion in assets, or anywhere under in couple of billions in dollars in asset size, while they are already for not for profit, we have seen that typically this kind of model and the lower asset size they try to avoid the hefty expenses with the account opening investments. Finally, with the banks, typically we have seen that they have multiple projects at hand, and these are the banks who need some help in prioritizing the projects for account opening versus the other projects that they might have on their hand. Okay, so these are the target audience for today's session that I'm going to capture. Now, I'll lay this statement right up front that it's high time for online account opening. Okay, and we all understand and we all believe that the way for digital and the initiatives for digital are there on everybody's mind, whether it is a large institution, regional banks, national banks, as well as the community banks. And this is further emphasized by the facts and figures that we get from various analysts and reporting agencies. Okay, so some of the facts that we have gathered are first, nearly half, which is 44%, half of the banks and a quarter of credit unions expect to add a new or replacement consumer digital account opening system in this year. Okay, which means that the priority for a digital account opening is there, whether it is with the banks or credit unions, whether they have an existing solution or not. So that is always there on the priority with these institutions. Secondly, more than half of the customers, which is 57%, prefer to open a deposit account online, while 47% prefer an online loan option. Okay, which means that the preference from the customer side, the member side, is also on the digital. Okay, and this has been really amplified. The need of the account opening has been amplified by the current scenario, which is the pandemic and the COVID restrictions we have on the social gatherings as well as the personal interactions. Third, the online account opening initiative has been the top trend for the last 4 years in a row. Now, these are again, I have laid out these sources of these figures, and this one especially is from an article by Ron Shevlin on the 5 hottest technologies, and the very first option that you will see there is the online account opening. Okay, so while a lot of institutions have been trying to have this on their technology landscape, again, it has not been covered well enough, and that's why every year this still comes as a top trend in the technology. And finally, I'll give a quick uh, perspective in terms of the target audience for the banks and credit unions. And we do understand that all the marketing strategies were designed and devised keeping millennials in the focus in the last decade. Okay, but now we are seeing that the Gen Z, which is the latest generation, controls $45 billion in the annual spending, and the oldest Gen Z customer are nearing 24 years of age, which means that this is the prime time when they will be making a lot of their financial decisions, and they will be starting the banking relationships that may last for decades. So, with having said that, this group numbers nearly 60 million in the US. Okay, and to ensure that the banks and credit unions are able to target this market, having an online account opening technology is a no-brainer at all. Okay. Now, while we do understand that it's high time for online account opening, how do we justify that to the management? How will the institutions, banks, credit unions create a business case? And it really is driven by the return on investment, and how can we quantify the benefits of the online account opening. Now, there are several tangible and intangible benefits with respect to the account opening, and the diagram on the right hand side showcases again a combination of tangible as well as non-intangible benefits, but really we can drill down into 5 specific parameters. One is the customer acquisition cost. What is the per customer acquisition cost that a bank or a credit union is incurring? So right from the beginning of marketing to application acceptance to reviewing the application in the branch or in the back office, opening the account, and then finally also monitoring it. So what is the overall cost, and how can an online account opening solution reduce those costs for the institution? Second factor is the customer lifetime value. So while we we all understand that if we have a great account opening solution, it'll surely help the institutions in reducing the abandonment rates. So fewer applications will be abandoned, more people will be able to complete the application, which means that the overall customer base which any institution has will surely expand with the implementation or adoption of the account opening technology. Okay, so how does that impact the overall revenue for any institution? And this is again driven by the customer lifetime value. So we'll talk more about this and what kind of benefits we are looking for. Then the compliance to various regulations, and while compliance in itself is an intangible benefit, but when we talk about the non-compliance risks and how do we handle those exceptions, or if there are any lawsuits that may come, or any negligence that may be identified from a compliance perspective, that may really lead to tangible benefits and savings of thousands and hundreds and thousands of dollars of penalties by the law. Okay. Finally, we have cost savings and the cost of losing customers. So those are some of the standard benefits which can be avoided, like the cost of losing the customers can be avoided, and the cost savings can be made with the account opening solution. Okay. So talking about the customer acquisition costs, as per the source media research from American Banker, which was conducted in June 2018. And again, while the data may be a bit dated, but typically the overall benefits and the numbers have not changed much. So we're talking about an institution, and as let's assume that an institution has 300 accounts per month, which are being opened. Okay, and how does that impact adding a new account opening solution? How does that impact in reduction of the customer acquisition cost? Now, with that number in mind, 300 accounts per month and 3,600 accounts per year, let's assume 50% of these accounts are opened by new customers, and that figure would be 1,800. Okay. Now, for these new customers in the industry, the highest non-digital cost for customer acquisition is 150, which means that a manual way of acquiring a customer would be 150 for each new customer. But when it comes to digital, we're talking about some of the lowest numbers, 58, 95, 77. Okay. So if we take, let's say, the lowest of the non-digital and the lowest of digital customer acquisition cost, we are able to calculate the benefit, which is the reduction in customer acquisition cost for new customers. So for new 1,800 customers which are added every year, with the application or adoption of digital account opening, we are able to save $62 on each application, which means that at least $100,000 per year is the saving on the acquisition of the new customers. Okay, and this is again just on the numbers that we're talking about. Again, if the volume is higher, the ROI also becomes higher in that respect. Now let's talk about the ROI, second ROI factor, which is the growth in customer base. So obviously, if we are able to have a streamlined experience for the customers to be able to open the account, we will end up getting a lot of new customers which were abandoning the application in the previous non-digital era. Okay, so the customer base would increase naturally with the better reach with online account opening, which could be available to public at large, as well as reduction in abandonment rates because of the interactive, intuitive, and frictionless experience. Now, with the same data of 3,600 customers per year, we can assume that 30% improvement would be there in terms of the new customers. So from 1,800 new customers, there will be an addition of 30% on top of that, which will be 540 new customers just because of the digital account opening. Okay. Now, as per one of the studies conducted by Noventus, a bit old again, but they tried to assess the value of customer throughout the lifetime, which means that the amount of interest that they will pay or the amount of interest the bank can earn on their deposits, as well as any cross-selling that would happen along with the customer. So for each customer, the customer lifetime value throughout the lifetime, the benefits accrued to the bank or credit union can range anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. Now, with these figures in mind and taking a conservative assumption of 30% increase in the number of new accounts and a conservative assumption of the customer lifetime value of $2,000, we are able to understand that with the adoption of digital account opening, we are looking at increase of at least $1 million in the customer lifetime value every year for the bank or the credit union. Okay, so that's again a very important and significant number when we are looking at the return on investment. And then we cannot ignore the fact that we have just witnessed one of the historical events, which was COVID-19 and the pandemic era, wherein everything uh, was put to a halt, and the institutions had to adopt the digital ways of interacting and doing business. Okay, so online account opening at community financial institutions has increased by 14.5% since social distancing was introduced. Okay, so this has already happened. All of the institutions who did not have the account opening, all of those, a lot of them have adopted it recently. And this trend, even if we are able to go to the normal situation, we have understood from various reports, like one of the report from Goldman Sachs, that more than a quarter of customers do not plan to return to branch offices even after it is safe to do so. So it is we have a lot of time before people can really feel comfortable visiting the branches and doing the business as usual. So in that wake of events, we are looking at the online account opening as one of the necessities rather than an improvement initiative or a luxury for the institutions. Okay. Another factor that we have seen is that online channels have crossed the branch channels in the quarter 4 of 2019, and this trend is continuing, which means that a lot of institutions, even before COVID, were witnessing the increase of the customers in adoption of online technology for not just account opening, but also account maintenance. Okay, so we can very well expect that the role of online and the digital ways to connect with the bank is only going to increase. Now, one of the observations that we wanted to make here is that there are institutions who talk to us and tell that, hey, we have very low volumes and we just want to maintain a status quo, and we are not really looking at expanding big time in the market. So for those institutions, we just want to highlight that any institution who is lacking an online account opening channel will also see a decline when they are expecting a status quo. So if they plan to be consistent with adding, let's say, 300 applications or new customers or per year, per month, then that's not going to stay the same. It is going to decline just because the competition or the competitive banks will already have the more accessible ways of opening the account. Okay, and then it is a matter of survival for a lot of institutions. So if this thing continues, there's nothing which can be really laid out in the quantitative terms, but it is just a matter of survival, which needs to be looked at by the institutions who may be at fence of adopting the account opening technology. So having given some of these examples and the figures on the return on investment, and we can always share these slides with you all if required for you to create your business case. But at the same time, we also help you in terms of creating the business case, understanding your current situation, if you already have an account opening solution or not, and we are able to align that, create the business case, and help you in presenting to the management. Now, some of the case studies and the success stories that we have had are with CCF Bank, Georgia's own credit union, Equity Bank. Okay, and these are the institutions who have implemented Newgen solution for online account opening for consumer accounts as well as deposit accounts. Okay, and they have been able to witness a reduction in online account opening from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. They've been able to see the amount of back office work and the time reduced by 35% due to the increased efficiency with the system. And this again drives the cost savings as well as the customer expansion or the member expansion for the institutions. And again, we for CCF we did implement for Georgia zone we did implement the cross selling module, which means that they're able to also expand on the revenue from the existing customers. Okay, so we are able to run the rules and present the applicable cross selling options to them, which can be completed within the same session as that of account opening. Okay. Similarly, some of the other parameters that we have seen, which are typical for our customers, especially in terms of the increase in applications initiated. So we have seen more than 100% increase in applications using Newgen solution. And remember, in the ROI discussion, we took a conservative estimate of 30% increase. Okay. Similarly, increase in number of accounts opened. So 33% new accounts opened, reduction in turnaround time for account opening application, 66% of reduction. Okay, reduction in turnaround time for account opening application completion by customer care. So because the solution is omni-channel, we are able to impact the benefits at all the levels. Okay, and then there are additional detailed matrices around application review, completion of initial funding, exception management, ordering of the checks or debit cards. So how are we able to reduce the time and then impact the overall customer experience for account opening? Okay, just wanted to highlight here while we close on this session. So with Newgen solution, we are looking at a very quick deployment, which kind of helps our customers in justifying the business case. So not only the solution is able to deliver the benefits, it is able to deliver the benefits in a very short span of time. Okay, so based on the type of products that have to be included, based on the consumer lending as well as deposit products, if we are looking at in branch or only online, we are able to really start from 4 months to deliver the solution. And this is not just out of the box solution. You will always get the pre-built templates, but at the same time we do a gap analysis during the initial phase of the project, and we understand from your side on the key requirements that you may have for our account opening, and we are able to incorporate all of those within the solution. So while the solution is available to be deployed immediately, we always align our clients' requirements and the needs within the solution. Okay, so and again, this is possible because of the highly configurable platform that we have for online account opening. So we're looking at a 4 months timeline for quick deployment of the solution, and then start to get the return on investments for the institutions. Okay. So we wanted to cover the various factors for return on investments, and I'll open the forum right now for any questions that the audience may have. Okay, I have a question. So the question is how long before the customers can get the return on investments. So we've really seen that typically for the institutions with a lower number of accounts that are opened, we have seen that it is at least 6 months before they can see any increase in the number of customer applications, and at the same time the cost savings or the additional benefits. But when it comes to the institutions who may have a higher volume, we have seen that the benefits could percolate quickly into the organization. I have another question. So what is the maximum amount of time for opening account opening implementation? So for Newgen, we have really seen anywhere from 4 months, as I mentioned. So if you're looking at only consumer account opening for deposits, we're really looking at a 4 months timeline for implementation, right from the kickoff date to go live. Okay. When it comes to the institutions who are looking at not just the consumer account opening for deposits as well as loans, but also for the in-branch account opening, we are looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 months. And it also is dependent on multiple factors like the availability of the third-party vendors with which Newgen has to integrate. And we have a lot of these risk mitigation suggestions that we are able to share with our prospects in order for them to expedite the overall process. Okay. So another question is, what is the cost of your solution? So this is really dependent on the type of products that you're looking at. And at the same time, it is also dependent on the back office users and the access pattern. So how many users will be accessing in a full-time manner, or how many will be accessing occasionally. So there are factors involved here. And I would really request you to get in touch with our sales team through our website, and some of us will be able to send a questionnaire to you and share the tentative cost for the solution. Okay, so we're waiting for any more questions from the audience. Okay, we have one more question. So do you also offer the customer onboarding activities beyond account opening? Yes. So account opening, obviously, when the solution connects with the core and the account is created, so the process for Newgen does not really stop there. We do expand our solution into the customer onboarding activities, which not just includes the account opening, but also sending follow-up communication to the customers on the next steps, whether it is enrolling into the online banking or downloading the mobile app, as well as sending communication for such as courtesy emails or welcome letters and disclosures. At the same time, we have seen that as per the industry best practices, the best time to cross sell a product to the customer is within the new or the opening 15 days, and we are able to leverage that. We are able to send the cross-selling options after the account is opened within that time period to achieve maximum effectiveness of the cross-selling campaign. Okay, so these are the various activities we are able to deliver as part of the customer onboarding beyond the account opening. Okay, any more questions? So I think that is it for now. I do not see any questions. If you're interested in getting this presentation, it'll be available as a recording, and you're able to download this. Similarly, if you want to ask few questions, I would encourage you to get in touch with us through the website, and somebody from our team will connect with you for the further engagement on this. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining, and have a safe day. Thank you. Bye.